Reflection of the times, the Queen's speech is slimmer and leaner than usual. Its focus is dealing with the economic downturn. As the Queen performed the annual state opening of Parliament this morning, she said the economy was the government's overriding priority. Well, John Sopel is in Westminster now. John.
Sophie, thanks very much. Yes, after all the pomp and ceremony, this afternoon MPs will get down to the nitty-gritty of the government's plans. As you say, there are just 18 bills in total. The main focus is on sorting out the economy after the convulsions of recent months. But other proposals include a welfare reform bill to make the long-term unemployed in England, Scotland and Wales start training courses or face benefit cuts. A police and crime bill to make police more accountable and crack down on cheap alcohol sales. And a banking bill to try to prevent another banking crisis. Our political correspondent, Gary O'Donoghue, now reports.
They've been doing it like this for nearly 200 years, though for most of that time the contents of the monarch's speech was a closely guarded secret. That's no longer the case since the government began publishing its plans in draft ahead of time. So today's list of 12 new bills contains few surprises. Still though, Black Rod was sent to summon MPs to hear the most gracious speech, and Labour's Dennis Skinner, keeping with his own tradition of refusing to walk to the House of Lords to hear it, couldn't resist raising the Damian Green affair.
Any Tory moles at the palace?
Black Rod's response, "We'll miss you, Dennis." This is always an awkward moment as opponents pair off for the walk to the Lords. What on earth do they say to one another? Fairness is the government's overarching theme and the economy top of the agenda.
My government's overriding priority is to ensure the stability of the British economy during the global economic downturn.
Banking reform is high on the priority list, and there's likely to be much more on the economy from Gordon Brown later.
Legislation will continue to be taken forward to ensure fairer and more secure protection for bank depositors and to improve the resilience of the financial sector.
Welfare legislation will create more sanctions for benefit fraudsters.
A bill will be brought forward to reform the welfare system, to improve incentives for people to move from benefits into sustained employment.
There's a policing bill to contain curbs on alcohol promotions.
A bill will be brought forward to increase the effectiveness and public accountability of policing, to reduce crime and disorder, and to enhance airport security.
The opposition were unimpressed.
We've got 650 words, 14 bills, yet not once was the word housing mentioned in the Queen's speech. Housing is now one of the biggest crises confronting this country in the teeth of this recession.
Now, the Prime Minister will no doubt say he's going to talk a lot about the economy this afternoon, and we and David Cameron are going to talk a lot about the economy. But above all, it is the programme of a government that has no vision anymore for the country.
This could be the beginning of the last full session of Parliament before a general election, in which the economy is destined to dominate. Gary O'Donoghue, BBC News, Westminster.
Well, let's take a look at what this all means. In a moment we'll be speaking to Louisa Baldini. She's in a pub in Taunton. But first let's speak to our business editor, Robert Peston. Robert, what difference will these measures make?
Well, on the banking side, they should make quite a bit of difference. The main measure is reform of the way that the watchdogs do their job to prevent banks taking excessive risks and then to rescue depositors when banks get into trouble. There are new powers for the Financial Services Authority to intervene early when banks are taking excessive risks, and there are powers for the Bank of England to step in and take control when a bank has broadly failed. Now, there's also a separate measure to give the force of law to a code that already exists, which are basically promises by banks to treat customers fairly. At the moment, that code is policed by the banks themselves. Responsibility for the code will transfer to the Financial Services Authority, the city watchdog, which should mean there's greater protection for those who just do basic dealings with banks, whether they're small businesses or ordinary individuals like you and me. If we think that the bank is treating us badly, withdrawing credit in a capricious way, charging us too much, we'll now have the force of law behind us when we complain.
And Robert, you've told us for months now the key to this is whether the banks will start lending again. Will they?
Well, there's nothing in the Queen's speech, I'm afraid, that addresses that directly. There are powerful global forces which prevent banks all over the world from lending as much as many businesses and many individuals would like. It is absolutely the cause of this global slowdown, a recession in countries all over the world, and we, I'm afraid, still wait measures from the government to address this crucial problem head on.
OK, Robert Peston there, thank you very much indeed for that. Well, as we've heard, there are measures there to crack down on binge drinking. Louisa Baldini is at